Welcome back, students. Welcome to the class. Today we are going to discuss a new topic, that is thermodynamics. So, what is in this chapter now? In case of thermodynamics, it is the branch of the science that deals with the relationship between energy, heat, work, and accompanying change in the nature and the behavior of various substances around us. What do you mean by that? Energy, heat, work, and the changes that can be physical, that can be chemical. The combination of all these four is called as what? It is called as thermodynamics. The principles of the thermodynamics have been enunciated in the form of a few laws of thermodynamics called zeroth law, first law, second law, and the third law. Okay, zeroth law is basically taught in physics. Okay, so first law, second law, and third law will be taught in chemistry. These laws finds application in physics, chemistry, engineering, medicine, biotechnology, biochemistry, geology, and space science. The branch of the chemistry that deals with the investigation of energetics and feasibility. Feasibility means how the reaction has been taken place and how far the reaction can take place. Remember that one more thing, thermodynamics doesn't tell us that how fast or slow or at what speed the change will occur. It only tells about what? About the feasibility. What is that? Feasibility. This is called what? Feasibility. I am repeating once more. Energetic and feasibility of the chemical reaction. Are you getting that in your mind now? These chemical and physical changes are called as what? Chemical thermodynamics. Its principles are simple and predictions are powerful and extensive. The predictive power of chemical thermodynamics is based on the characteristics of the thermodynamic properties, namely internal energy, enthalpy, entropy, and Gibbs energy, and their variation with variables like temperature, pressure, volume, and the amount of the substance taken. The changes in these properties depends only upon initial and final state of the system and independent of the path followed by the system. Therefore, these thermodynamic properties are called as state functions. Now, in the coming lectures, we are going to learn that, but remember that one thing, a state function is that function a state function is that function whose value depends upon initial state and final state of the system. Its value does not depend upon the path taken by the system. Okay, remember that state function is that function whose value depends upon what? Initial state of the system and what? And about final state of the system. How the system reaches up to the final state function does not oblige to that. Are you getting that in your mind now? But mathematically speaking, that will be not taught to you actually. But actually, state functions are those functions which in mathematics follows the Euler's reciprocity. Now, what is the aim of the study of the chemical thermodynamics? The main aim of the study of the chemical thermodynamic is to study the transformation of the energy from one form to the another form. That how the energy is being transformed from one form to the other form. Utilization of the various forms of energy, how the various forms of energy can be utilized, how kinetic energy can be transformed into mechanical work done, or mechanical work done can be transformed into electrical work done, like that. Changes in the properties of the system produced by chemical or physical effects. Okay, therefore this branch of science is called chemical energetics. Are you getting that or not? So thermodynamically is basically at macroscopic level. At macroscopic level is the study of various forms of the energy, its relationship with the heat and work. Are you getting that or not? So various forms of the work involved in the study of chemical thermodynamics. In the study of the chemical thermodynamics, most frequently we deal with the interconversion of four forms of energy, namely electrical work done, thermal energy, mechanical energy, and chemical energy. I am repeating once more. What is that? I am repeating once more. Chemical energy. Are you getting that or not? This is what chemical energy. Thermal energy, mechanical energy, and the chemical energy. Electrical, thermal, mechanical, and chemical. The energy involved in the chemical process called chemical energy. That is that it is the energy liberated or absorbed when chemical bonds are formed, broken, or rearranged. For example, when hydrogen and oxygen combine to form water and a large quantity of chemical energy is released, when 1 mole of R broken and 2 moles of OH bond are formed, like that. What has happened here now? H2 plus O2, so it is half H2, sorry, not half H2, it is H2O plus half O2 gives you what? Gives you water. Okay, so in the whole process, how much heat has been what? How much heat has been what? How much heat has been taken place? Now conversion of what? Conversion of chemical energy into different forms of energy depending upon the condition under which the reaction proceed. Now what do you mean by that? Remember that you have energy is required to break the bond between hydrogen and hydrogen. Energy is required to break the bond between oxygen and oxygen. And energy is released during the formation of OH bond. So old bonds are broken and new bonds are formed. So these are new bonds, okay, and these are old bonds that are being broken up. So in the process, the chemical energy released can be made to appear in the form of thermal energy, mechanical energy, or electric energy. So the energy that is produced due to the formation of the bonds can be appear as a thermal energy, means heat, mechanical energy, means some action have been taken place, or electric energy, as it occurs in case of our dry cells or various batteries what we use in day-to-day life. If the reaction takes place in a closed vessel immersed in a water bath, the chemical energy will appear as thermal energy, which will warm the vessel, the reaction mixture, and the water bath. If the reaction proceeds in a cylinder fitted with a movable piston, then the chemical energy released can be made to produce mechanical work by forcing the piston to move in the cylinder against the external pressure. That is mechanical work. Or if the reaction is allowed to take place in an appropriate electrochemical cell, and chemical energy can be transformed into electric energy. So remember that. So it depends upon how you are conducting a chemical reaction. The way you conduct a chemical reaction, in the same manner you will get the other form of the energy. Are you getting that in your mind now? We have to learn various thermodynamic terms that are being used. First of all, the term is a system. A system is a portion of the universe which is selected for investigation. A system may be water taken in a beaker, a balloon filled with the air, an aqueous solution of glucose, a seed, a plant, a flower, or animal cell, or a room, or a geographical region like that. So system can be said that portion of the universe which is under observation. So you can say that we have using macroscopic technique. What is that? Macroscopic techniques have been used. Next is what? Surrounding. The rest of the universe which can interact with the system is called surrounding. For practical purposes, the environment in the immediate vicinity of the system is called surrounding. The boundary may be real or may be imaginary. Okay, so it means that the system which are very near to the system, they may only interact with the system. It is not that matter from far away can interact with the system. Boundary. The space that separates a system and surrounding is called boundary. The system and surrounding interact across the boundary. I'm repeating once more. The space that separates system and surrounding is called boundary. The boundary can be real. The boundary can be imaginary. Both can be taken as. Okay. So I am repeating once more. The boundary can be real, like in a beaker. The wall, the thick wall of the beaker is called as boundary. But what about when a gas is expanding or an atom's boundary? It is all what? It is all something imaginary has been taken place. Now remember more thing that the boundary can be a rigid boundary, means whose wall has fixed shape and position. Impermeable boundary, it is a wall that prevents the passage of the matter but permits the passage of the energy. Okay. Next, permeable boundary, a wall that permits the passage of both matter and the energy. Adiabatic boundary, a boundary wall that prevents the passage of both mass and energy. And dithermic boundary, it is a wall that allows the passage of energy or heat but prevents the passage of matter. That is a dithermic boundary. It is impermeable but not adiabatic. I am repeating once more. So a dithermic boundary is impermeable but not adiabatic. So it does not allow the matter. Okay, sure about that or not? So I am repeating once more. Rigid boundary, impermeable boundary, sure, permeable boundary, adiabatic boundary, and dithermic boundary. You can say In place of boundary, you can use the term wall also, no problem in that. Types of the system. Now, depending upon the nature of the boundary, the system can be classified as open, closed, and isolated. In an open system, it is a system which has permeable boundary across which the system can exchange both mass and energy. I am repeating once more, a system which has permeable boundary and in which both mass and energy can be exchanged. With whom? With the surroundings, obvious. So in an open system, mass and energy may change. So in terms of symbolical notation, delta m not equal to 0, delta u not equal to 0. So it is an open system. Sure about that? A cup of tea is an example of open system. Okay. A closed system. It is a system which is impermeable boundary across which the system cannot exchange the mass, but it can exchange the energy with the surrounding. So a closed system, the mass remains constant but the energy may change. So in terms of symbolical notation, delta m equal to 0 but delta u not equal to 0. So that is a closed system. Then we have an isolated system. What is an isolated system means? A system with rigid and adiabatic boundaries across which neither one can exchange mass nor energy between the system and the surrounding, that is not permissible. So in an isolated system, mass and energy remains unchanged. I am repeating once more, mass and energy remains unchanged. So in terms of symbolical notation, it may be stated that delta m equal to 0, delta u equal to 0. Milk kept in an thermoflask is an example of an isolated system. Are you getting that or not? Next we talk about extensive and intensive properties of the system. Okay, what is extensive and intensive properties? If you have a system, then the system can be expressed in terms of mass, in terms of volumes, in terms of energy, in terms of free energy, in terms of Gibbs energy, in terms of heat capacities. So all these terms are called as properties, and some of them are extensive, some of them are intensive. Okay, so properties, they are called thermodynamic properties, the properties which will define the system. So some of the properties the system depends upon its size, whereas others do not depend upon the size. I am repeating once more, some of the properties depend upon the size of the system, while in some cases it will not. So therefore property systems are grouped as extensive or intensive properties. What are extensive properties? A property which depends directly on the size of the system is called extensive property. Volume, mass, amount, these are what? These are all extensive properties. These are all extensive properties. Sure about that? I am repeating once more. A property which depends directly on the size of the system is called extensive properties. Volume, mass and amount are what? They are extensive properties. Characteristics of an extensive property. An extensive property of the entire system is greater than any of the smaller part. I am repeating once more. An extensive property of the entire system is greater than any of its smaller parts. The sum of the properties of the substance is equal to the same property of the entire system. This means the extensive properties are additive in nature. I am repeating once more. The sum of the property, the subsystems, is equal to the same property of the entire system. Okay, I repeating once more. In case of extensive property, the entire system has greater value than any of its part. And second thing, if all the parts of the systems are taken collectively together, their sum is equal to the total property. So that is called extensive properties are additive in nature. Intensive property, a property which does not depend upon the size of the system, like density, temperature, molarity. They are what? They are intensive properties. Okay, intensive property of a homogeneous system is same as that of any of its similar parts. So whether you taken 10 ml of solution or 20 ml of solution or 100 ml or 1 liter of solution, if the molarity is same, it is same. The intensive properties are non-additive. Okay, so remember that extensive properties are additive, intensive properties are non-additive. Throughout the system, the intensive properties have what? Their values independent of the size. Now, there are some list of the examples of extensive and intensive properties. Extensive properties are what? Which depends upon size and amount of the system. Volume, mass, amount or moles, energy, enthalpy, entropy, Gibbs energy, heat capacity. Okay, sure about that? Resistance, polarization. These are extensive properties. Intensive properties, molar volume, density, molar mass, molarity, mole fraction, specific heat capacity, okay, specific resistance, dipole moment. Dipole moment is also intensive property. EMF is also cell EMF, okay, but Gibbs energy is not. Now take a general statement. The ratio of two extensive property is an intensive property. Are you sure? Density is an intensive property. Mass extensive, volume extensive. But if you divide that, then what will happen? Density comes out to be an intensive property. Throughout the system, density remains the same. Okay, whether you taken 10 ml of solution out of the system or 20 ml, it will have the same density. Similarly, molarity, number of moles, extensive properties, volume, extensive property, but number of moles dissolved in per liter of solution, molarity, that is what? Intensive property. Similarly, heat capacity is mass into specific heat, but specific heat is what? Intensive, but heat capacity is extensive. Okay, so logical explanation is that molarity is an what? Is an intensive property. Molarity is an intensive property. Now look at that one. Volume is an extensive property, but temperature is an intensive property. For example, take 100 ml of water in a beaker and note down the temperature, say 125 degrees Celsius. Now divide the water into 4 parts, 10 ml, 20 ml, 30 ml and 40 ml, A1, A1, okay, A1, A2, A3, A4, that is 10 ml, 20 ml, 30 ml and 40 ml. If you add them, it becomes what? It becomes 100. So it is equal to the whole. So it is what? So if you look at this scenario, so this is what? Additive in nature. That is what? Additive in nature. Sure about that or not? Okay. Now record the temperature of each subsystem. It is observed that temperature of each of them is what? Same. So it is an intensive property. So whether it is 10 ml solution, 20 ml, 30 ml or 40 ml, in each and every case temperature is constant. Now the state variable of the system A system can be described by the measurable properties, means which can be measured with the help of instrument such as temperature, pressure, volume and amount. Now all these properties are what? They are what? Measurable properties of various species present in the system. These measurable properties are called what? So temperature, pressure, volume, number of moles, what they are? They are measurable properties. If the state variables are fixed, the other property system also remains fixed. If the state variables are changed, the properties of the system also change. This implies that all the state variables are not independent. That is, the state system may be defined by fixing a minimum number of variables depending upon the nature of the system. State property system and the state functions. A property system which depends only upon the state variable is called state property or state function. I told you already, a state function is that function which only depends upon what? It only depends upon the initial and final state. The change in the state property depend only upon what? Initial and final state of the system. A state property is independent of the manner in which the change is brought. Okay, so initial and final position of the system should be taken into account, not the path taken by the system. This means that state property does not depend upon the path followed by the system. Thermodynamic properties, namely energy, enthalpy, entropy, work function, free energy, volume, pressure, temperature are what? They are all state functions. A state function, let us suppose internal energy, maybe mathematically, maybe energy is what? Energy is a function of temperature, volume and number of moles. U is what? Internal energy. So internal energy is function of what? Temperature, volume and number of moles. The mathematical representation is stated as that internal U is internal energy system is a function of T, V and N. So that is the energy of the system depend only upon the state variables. Similarly, volume system is a function of temperature, pressure and amount. So you can say that volume is what? Function of temperature, pressure and number of moles. So for a system of constant composition, the volume of the gas is function of temperature and pressure only. Why? Because number of moles is taken constant. So we'll understand that meaning of state function and state property by taking an analogy. Suppose if we want to climb a mountain and that is peak is 1 kilometer above the state level, the decision defined the initial state h is 0 and final state h is the peak. There will be various paths to reach the mountain peak, but the vertical height from the ground is always 1 kilometer. So the height of the mountain peak cannot alter by choosing different paths, although the actual distance travelled by different path will be different. Okay, are you sure about that? So vertical distance in this analogy correspond to a thermodynamic function which does not depend upon the path taken by the person who want to climb the mountain. Okay, so whether mountaineering is approaching the peak from the left hand side, from right, because approaching from different routes will cover the different distance, but the vertical height of the peak will remain what? Constant or not? Now what is the thermodynamic process? The method of operation which can bring about the change system is called thermodynamic process. Heating, cooling, expansion, compression, fusion, evaporation They are all what? They are all thermodynamic processes. They are what? Okay, sure about that or not? So, observed there. A change has been observed there. So, a change can be carried in different ways and under different conditions. So, first is what? First is isothermal process. So, isothermal process is that in which temperature is kept constant. Temperature is kept constant. So, you can say here that delta T in this case, delta T in this case is what? Delta T in this case is 0. Delta T in this case is 0. No change in temperature has been observed. No change in the temperature has been observed in this case. So delta T is equal to 0. So what is happening here? Delta T is 0. Isothermal condition is attained either by supplying heat to the system or by removing heat from the system. I am repeating once more. The isothermal condition is obtained either by supplying heat to the system or by removing heat from the system. For this purpose, the experiment is performed in a thermostat. Adiabatic process. A process is said to be adiabatic if there is no exchange of heat between the system and the surrounding during the whole operation. So you can say heat is constant in an adiabatic process. This condition is obtained by thermally insulating the system. So in an adiabatic system, what can you say? You can say delta Q is equal to 0. Okay. If the work is done on the system, the temperature increases. If the work is done by the system, then the temperature decreases. Are you sure about that? Okay. Isobaric process. A process said to be isobaric if the pressure remains constant during the whole operation. So dP equal to 0. So the process is isobaric. Okay. Isochoric process. A process said to be isochoric if the volume of the system remains constant during the change. So dV equal to 0. Combustion of fuel in a bomb calorimeter is an example of isochoric process. The term core is used for space and iso means same space or same volume. Isochoric. So if the process is isothermal, delta T is 0. Process adiabatic, heat 0, delta Q 0. Isobaric, dP 0. Isochoric, dV equal to 0. So what is a reversible process? A process is said to be what? Reversible if the change can take place in both forward and backward direction by a small change in its state variable. In a reversible change, the system can be brought back to its initial state without altering the property of the surrounding. It means you can go back to the initial state from any state of the system because the reaction is occurring step by step. So you can say that reaction is occurring through very, very infinitesimal small steps. What they are called? Infinitesimal small steps. In a reversible process, the change takes place very, very slowly so that system and surrounding are always in equilibrium. I am repeating once more, system and surrounding are always in equilibrium. Applicable. A reversible process is that process if the change takes place only in one given direction. In an irreversible process, the system cannot be brought back to the original state without affecting the surrounding. All the natural processes are irreversible and spontaneous. Cyclic process is that process in which the initial state system is restored after a series of changes. Path, it is a representation of steps of changes starting from the initial state and then reaching the final state through various intermediate state if the intermediate state occurs. Okay. So some functions are path functions. I am repeating once more. Heat and work are path functions. Heat and work are path functions.